Here we go again. It's live decoded time, and this time I am joined by Brad. He was diagnosed with depression at the age of 13 and overcome it in 3 years' time. Since then, his life mission became helping others in the same situation. So we are the same age, 21 years young. Man, what a journey.
I appreciate the intro. I'm so blessed to be here, man.
Yeah, thank you for making the time. So we will just get right into it. How did you receive the message when it came that you are diagnosed with depression?
That's a good question. I wasn't sure if I ever fully cared about the diagnosis, more of just sat in the experience suffering every single day. My parents would take me to a therapist's office. I'd kick, I'd scream. I remember this one time in particular where we were sitting in the office waiting for the therapist to see me, and the front receptionist, the girl at the front desk, said something to my mom, and I remember literally saying "F you" out loud to her with other people in the office. I was the most angry kid ever. I was just like a ball of negative energy constantly going towards everybody. So in terms of receiving the diagnosis, it wasn't even like a particular point where my parents said, like, you're diagnosed with depression. It was just kind of like, I guess the experience itself. I was just sitting there and just like, yeah, this is my life and this is all it's ever going to be. And I thought to myself, I'm probably going to take my own life at some point. Tried to run away from home a few times. And I was blessed in a few years' time to discover a few general self-development concepts that kind of a light bulb went off in my head. Not that life was going to be amazing, but that something other than what I'm experiencing every single day, 24/7, could be possible. And I leaned into that, and I've been blessed ever since.
Lean into that. So I just think about, you are 13 years old. I think in America it's still high school as
so we're in middle school at that point still.
In middle school, okay. So very, very, very young age. Is there a reason that it even came that far, or what was the reason for depression, if there is even any?
Yeah, I remember I always felt like I had a deeper awareness than everybody else my age. I always hated school, and that's no diss for anybody who is in university or goes to school and enjoys it, but I was always confused on to why I was learning things in which I would regurgitate on a test and then completely forget I ever learned about them and then move on with my life and never feel like I was actually learning anything of value. And that caused me to kind of have a negative association to authority figures. I started to really dislike my teachers. But I hated people telling me what to do. And those things started to seep deeper into me. I lost my grandfather around, actually I think I was like 14 or 15. But I remember I lost all of my friends because I started to talk more negatively about myself, about the world, concepts of, the S word. I don't want to say it on here. Sue, you can finish it. And I remember I was just talking about those concepts and kind of feeling it internally, and they're just kind of spreading that everywhere. And then nobody wants to hear that, right? And kids at 13 can't even conceptualize what that really actually means. And also, why would you ever want to take your own life at that age? So, I mean, that being said, like, I grew up in a good family, great parents. So it was interesting because I can't pinpoint an exact location or time in which this event happened spiraled me into that. But I know that there was a deeper awareness, and I think when individuals who have a very deep awareness of life and they're not just thinking on the surface level, they tend to lean towards nihilism and negative. We're all human beings are primarily wired to view situations in more of a negative light than positive for survival instincts and reasons of that nature. But for me, it got taken to such a point in which every single thing I ever saw was that. And I think when you think a little bit more deeply about life, you lean more towards nihilism, which at 13, I didn't know the definition of nihilism, which for those who are listening and don't know what it is, essentially a philosophy around how life really doesn't matter and there's no purpose to anything. So I kind of unconsciously developed that worldview at the age of 13 and 14. And then I was just like, I'm hopeless. I hate school, but I have to do it for another 8-9 years. And, I'm supposed to go to university. I'm supposed to get a job. I'm supposed to do this. And I thought everything was wrong in the world. And once I got a little bit older, a few years later, it was still, you either go to university or you're homeless. And I'm like, these two options, I don't want to do either one of them. So I guess everything just sucks. So the deep awareness towards the negativity in the world, but largely speaking, it was me creating more of it for myself, even when it didn't exist. Even positive events in my life, I interpret it as negative, and that's the interesting thing about depression. And your perspective and perception on anything is that you can convince yourself anything is true, even if in reality it's not.
Wow, okay, so we will get to that part a little bit later. I'm just trying to draw a little bit the parallels because, of course, when hitting the age of 13, everybody's getting a bit through puberty. And at least in Germany or in my circle of friends, I always had that kind of impression that everybody get through a little phase where just everything sucks, especially school. Because in Germany, the whole opinion is just really the school system is just old. It's been there for 75 years. It's the only thing that never got modern or anything like that. So not saying it's the same that you experienced, not even close. But when I think of my very puberty ages, I also had those little phases, and I really can see what you mean with just being a bit more aware. And when something sucks, really, for my part, I really get into it and started complaining a lot. So yeah, that's sad. But you managed to overcome this in 3 years. So even at the age of 16, you are over the hill pretty much. What was the most important thing that helped you the most in this time? Because as you said, you lost your grandpa as well in this time frame, so it had to be a big hit, I assume.
Yeah, I can't say I was exceptionally close to him, but he was present in my life. And I think in combination with everything else, it was, my first experience of, we've all heard about death ever since we're, 5 years old, but we can't really conceptualize it. And then it was my first experience of, there's human beings and things that can exist in this world, and then they're gone, and everyone's told me they'd be gone, but they're actually gone forever. Whether you believe the heaven or hell exists or whatever your spiritual beliefs are after we die here, at least for now, wow, this person's not coming back. So that was definitely a proponent of it. But I think the biggest shift for me at 16 was that I finally learned how to use that deep awareness to push me forward instead of backwards. Because when you have a deep awareness, you fixate on things. Like people are ADHD, OCD, everyone has these diagnoses nowadays. Now all my friends come to me, they're like, dude, I'm diagnosed with this, I'm taking medication. I'm like, I definitely have OCD. I'm definitely ADHD, but I don't have medication. Like I'm all over the place all the time. But it's about where you're directing these things. And so some of the clients I even work with, they're like, dude, I'm struggling with my attention going in 15 different directions. It's like, good. You have a level of awareness that most people do not have. Most people are focused on one thing at a time, but they're not even actually focused on it. They're there doing that task, but they're just slumped. They don't enjoy it. They're not passionate. And so if you can have these 15 things that you're fixated on that you want to do, instead of just focusing on the things that you don't want to do, if you can build all those up, let me build up my relationships, let me increase my self-esteem, let me go to the gym, let me find passions in my life, let me start a business that I enjoy, let me go get a university degree that I actually connect to, right? It's like, if you fixate on those, what could your life become? So anyway, I started to do that, and I got obsessed. First, it was very basic. The gym, going on walks, getting in nature, taking deep breaths, all this basic stuff. And then it got into philosophy, psychology, deep relationships and connection, how to communicate with people, the ins and outs of manipulation, of charisma. And then these are concepts I started to discover at 16, and then for the last 5-6 years of my life have incorporated into my life and have been able to develop it to the point where I can notice these things in other people so I can help them with it, as well as call them out on their BS when it starts to occur in relationships as well.
Do you think everybody is either born with it or doesn't have awareness, or can you learn something like awareness? Because for me, I was for a very long time a very lazy kid, I would say of myself, until the age of 18, 19, when everything got a bit more serious. And everything you said, like focusing on 15 things, happened this year. I put out my first company, myself entrepreneurship, the first podcast, the college as well, then the work. So it all came together in this year, but really before it, I would describe myself as being only that one who does something a little bit without pleasure and not really thinking about that many things at the time. So what is your opinion? Is someone born with it, or do you learn it over time?
I firmly believe that at a point in my life, I would have been pretty egotistical about it and kind of played the high horse of, I was the one of the chosen ones and like I'm more aware than other people, so on and so forth. But absolutely, I think it's a learned skill for a lot of people. For me, it was a gift that I was given that was, I say it's a gift because at first it was kind of propelling negativity, but then it was used for positivity. I didn't really choose it. It happened for me more naturally. So I think it more naturally because of certain events or perceptions or minor situations, some of us are gifted at an earlier age or earlier point, but it is absolutely something anyone can really take grasp over. Now, as to the first step to doing that, I think is absolute presence in whatever you're doing. There have been a lot of different things that I've been building, a few different businesses, new relationships, so many different aspects, getting myself out of my comfort zone in my life over the last 8 to 9 months. And for that, I had to fix in a lot of different things at once. And what I started to do was get so obsessed with all of them at once that I did start to I'm doing this one thing, but I'm also thinking about these 15 things. So I think the most important thing to do is understand that when you do that, you stress yourself out more, and the whole grind culture of, I need to do everything at once. I need to be working 24/7. You don't have to work 24/7. Do you have to work 12 to 13 to 14-hour days at times? For sure. But you better be sure that it's something that you actually enjoy doing and you're building in your life authentically. But in terms of you really building the awareness around it, being present in that one thing that you're doing right now. For example, we're on this podcast. If I was thinking about what I have to do later and the sales call I have later and then my group call I have with my clients, I would not be present. This would be a horrific conversation. But because of the fact that I am choosing consciously, this is a choice, to forget that all of that exists and has to happen later, I can be here, be present, listen to you, and dive into this. So for everyone listening, it's like you have to be able to do that with every single thing that you do in your life, because that's where a deeper awareness, that's the only thing that's real, right? The present day experience, the future will never exist. When it comes, it is now. And of course, we all say, oh, the past doesn't exist. Yeah, of course. But what you lean into now is the thing that is propelled more further. So focus more on the thing you have to do now.
And it's so interesting because I think this is one of the most misunderstood parts about this grind culture, because there's always this mood swing. Now, grind culture is the biggest thing you can do. Put your whole life into it in your 20s is one group of people who tell you that. And the other group of people, of course, life balance, get enough sleep, etc., etc. But when you really have those 14 hours days and focus on 15 things all the time, you don't get anything done. That's pretty much where everybody agrees. When you always are fixated on everything, and right now you're writing this essay, but while writing this essay, you remind yourself that you need to prepare something else for school, then you need to write your parents back and everything, you won't get anything done, because what you just said, to be present with everything, it's just so important to me in the last few days, because I have a few things going on. I'm in a fitness challenge, doing this podcast for 2 times a day, trying to get to the gym as well, then to the college. So I have a few things that need to be done throughout the day. And you're completely right with when I'm there without any presence, not thinking about what I'm doing right now, I'm not getting any shit done. And I think that is where both sides of the coin are coming a little bit together. What is your view? Are you more on the grinder side, or just say that your whole 20s you should put everything on the line, you don't have anything to lose? Or are you just in the middle, or completely on the please get your life balance? If you now don't get any sleep, you won't get it later in your life.
Yeah, of those two specific perspectives, I'm in the middle. I lean more towards the grind stuff, but everything is... It's not about, I don't believe in work-life balance. I believe they're the same thing. I believe it for the optimal life for all of us, our work needs to feed our life, and our life needs to then feed our work. For example, in the coaching work that I do, I also run a marketing agency with my brother, but in the coaching work that I do, I can be present with my clients. We can talk about concepts. We can talk about issues. We can figure out how to move through them. But then every single experience I have with my girlfriend, every single experience I have with my friends, every disagreement I have with someone, every time I get pissed off in my life, all of these emotional experiences, all of these conversations feed directly back into what I do for work. right? And so for everyone, it has to be these conversations feed back into it. Now, again, it's not saying that you can't ever take time off and have just fun conversations with people that don't have to do with your work. Although I would hope that the conversations you have about your work are fun conversations. Everybody's, no, I don't want to talk about work. Let's talk about something else. You're doing the wrong thing for work. And a lot of people will sit there and say, well, I'm not in a fortunate place to start my own business or to go find a job that I enjoy, so on and so forth. It's like, I completely understand you're financially struggling. There's been cards you've been dealt that I wasn't dealt. But if you sit here and say your life is hopeless, it will be. And if you say, I have hope, and I'm going to spend 2 hours out of my evening after I go to my job I don't like to research a business idea that I could start to slowly incorporate over the next 2 years, you may be able to phase out of what you're doing now. But you won't be able to if you believe that it's not possible. And I don't want to get all super general motivation, believing you can achieve it, because belief is only the first step. I mean, everyone talks about manifestation. Let me just manifest this in my life. Let me manifest love. Let me get my ex-girlfriend, my ex-boyfriend back. And those are the things you should exactly not do because they're not going to serve you. But yeah, we have to grind. But it's not blindless grinding. It's intentional grinding. I'm doing this thing at this time because it pushes the needle forward in the business. I'm setting aside this time because me hanging out with my girlfriend nourishes our relationship and it feeds my soul. And then my soul being fed, now when I show up on Sunday for work again or Monday for work again, then I can feed myself even more into that because I was able to recharge. Now, what they do for recharging is different for everyone. I have multiple things. I have my girlfriend. I have a few close friends. I have drumming. I would honestly say that my work itself recharges me. There's so many days where I'm doing some stuff with my other business. Maybe some technical thing happened. I got a little bit pissed off. And then I hop on a call with 15 of my clients and on a group call, for example. And then I finish that at 10 p.m. It's just like, man, they made my evening. Right. And so it's like everyone talks about coaching as well, where it's just like, you're always helping people. My clients help me more than they even know. There's so many things that they do for me. Just a certain question that they ask that allows my brain to move in a creative direction and come up with an answer I'd never thought about before, allows me to reflect after, like, wow, I got into the flow state. God was speaking through me. I was able to lean into this energy and I didn't even necessarily choose this. It was kind of like the awareness. It was a gift that came in. But we have to be intentional about these things and conscious about allowing the opportunities to come into our lives as opposed to simply waiting, because that's the side of, the opposite of the grind culture, which is like, I'll just wait till it comes to me. I'm content the way I am. And it's like, you're not going to get anywhere either. So there's absolutely a balance to it. So in that case, you could say work-life balance does exist. But it's definitely more work than quote unquote life. Most people and most men in their 20s, especially now, are doing things they don't enjoy doing. They hate their job. They hate going to school, and they come home, they play video games for the last 8 hours of their day. And I know that lifestyle because I used to be that guy. There's video games start out as this fun, creative endeavor that's a hobby, and then it turns into sucking your soul away until there's nothing left.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's also something I got wrong for a very long time, because just go into the work, and work can be hard even though it refreshes you, because then it wouldn't be work. When you put no pain into it, you will not gain anything. That's at least my perspective on it. And for a very long time, I hated the whole IT thing and everything with technology, because it was just so, you needed to learn so much and everything. But now I'm actually doing my studies in data science and AI, and it's the best I've ever done. And I needed that to come to this place now. So maybe I traded a few years of discomfort where I would not especially say, okay, my work was the best. I was completely refreshed in there, but also it was not like it drained me completely. It was just, an obstacle to get over. So is that your same view, or does work really feel always like this refreshing breeze going out on a Sunday evening?
For most of the time of the coaching work I do, it feels very refreshing, unless, to kind of loop into the point we were talking about before, unless I don't get enough sleep, unless I feel very off myself, because especially with what I do, I have to be fully present in all my conversations with people. And if something was off that I didn't deal with, that's life oriented, that will then feed its way in there, and then I'll notice first 5 minutes of the session, shit, I'm not listening to what they're saying. I'm somewhere else. And it's like, okay, that cannot benefit them. So you need to make sure that your energy is right, and whatever you need to do, that's priming in the morning is something important to do, whether it's just a little bit of physical activity, setting some mental intentions. An intention that you could do is just telling yourself, I'm going to have a good day, and taking a few deep breaths, leaning into that experience, because then you kind of set that for yourself. And then when you start to get a little bit annoyed or frustrated at something at work or a person, you start to come back to that, because your subconscious mind is a lot more active when you first wake up for the first few minutes, as opposed to in the middle of your day. So you're a lot more locked in, right? It's like when you're out of the dreaming state or very close to it, your mind is a lot more wonky. You could probably notice when you're about to fall asleep and you're like close to sleep, your thoughts start to become very weird. Like they're logical to a degree of the concepts themselves, but then the explanation of them starts to not make sense. And this is the creative mind coming in, right? It's like these things that are not bound to our everyday reality, if that makes any sense. And so I think the same case goes for setting the intentions in your life and kind of letting that energy soak in. Sometimes the spiritual beliefs that you think aren't very practical are the most practical things in the entire world. I had a friend of mine, very intelligent guy, but he always says how philosophy is meaningless because there's no practicalities to it. I'm like, there's so many practicalities to philosophy. Like when you tell yourself something mentally, you could externalize it in reality. You can live internally in that experience. And I think that's something so important for us to do, to investigate what philosophies do I hold in my life, and also investigating, creating new ones that are positive, and also understanding the ones you currently hold for yourself and the ones that are currently pushing you forward and the ones that are holding you back and based in insecurity.
Yeah, it's pretty much the power of the mind, what it really comes down to. And I think a lot of people really underestimate how big of an impact it just can have to get everything right up there, to get everything right in your life as well. Wow. Okay, so just to shift a little bit the subject, since I think COVID, everybody is a bit more scared or feared about the future, what will be happening. Now AI is coming, everybody's fearing for their job pretty much. And at the same time, stuff like self-doubt and everything holds us back. For instance, a few minutes ago, before we started this conversation, I tried to record a little short video for the online presence. And in the middle of the recording, I just said to myself, never I will upload this because it's just so cringe. Nobody will watch this, and so on and so on. So we have all of those stimulants that really keep us back, keep us feared. How can you shift from that away with your mind?
You have to stop being so selfish and understand that your self-doubt is selfish because it's a form of protection. And if you were to post that video, for example, and I hear what you're saying about that, because when I first started shooting content, I probably shot videos for a year before I posted anything. And what I realized is there's so many people that aren't being helped because I'm deciding not to do this thing. And when it comes to YouTube videos and Instagram, and you're not working with direct clients, it's hard to tangibly see these things, right? If you get 1,000 views on a YouTube video, you might be like, oh, like that's decent, or that's good, or like that's not enough. You can, whatever your perception of it is. But like, think about 1,000 people in a room watching you speak. And are all 1,000 of those people going to take away the most valuable insight, the craziest takeaway, and they're going to change their life around? No. But even if it's just one person where it makes their day a little bit better, or they received the golden nugget that you put down, or they felt into the thing that you were sharing about the thing that you were struggling with when you're talking about it in your video, and they finally feel seen and heard, and they haven't felt that in 10 years or ever in their entire life. If you can be the person that does that, it's going to be absolutely exceptional. And that's the thing that is happening, even though you can't see. Because here's the thing, that guy probably isn't even going to leave a comment on your video. So you're going to have no idea that you made that impact. But he's still going to take it away and use it. And so it's about engulfing in the philosophy of it's bigger. For the first 6 months of my coaching practice, I had 5 clients. I work with over 50 now. And for 6 months, I had 5 clients, couldn't figure out how to get more people in, didn't even really know what I was doing. And there were points where I started to question it. Is this practical? Do people want to work with me? Am I intelligent enough? Or is everything that everyone in my personal life says about me true, that I'm too young and I don't know anything and I can't help people and I have no credibility? I started to soak into those insecurities. And then I kept finding new ways to reach out to people, new processes, improve myself and my coaching ability, and listening and understanding people. And then all of a sudden, everybody starts floating in. Everybody suddenly resonates with what I'm doing. Suddenly people are hearing about the thing I do and say, yeah, I want to work with you. Yeah, I want to join the group. And if I stopped at that 6-month period because it was getting a little bit difficult, all of the people that I work with now and lives are changed would not have happened. And all of those individuals, maybe they would have found a therapist or another coach that would have helped them. Or maybe not. But I know for a fact that nobody would have helped them in the exact way that I did. And when you look at it like that, it's, yes, priding yourself on that, but also equally, it's bigger than you. It's bigger than your own self-doubt. It's bigger than, this is uncomfortable. What are my childhood friends going to think of me? What are the people that live around me going to think about me? Here's what they're going to think about you. They're going to tell you that you're cringy. They're going to tell you that what you're saying doesn't matter and you're just like everybody else. Because I received that when I started, and a year and a half later, I still get that all the time. But here's the interesting thing. I never get it from the clients that I work with or the people that I talk to. Everybody in my personal life goes, you're not credible to do this. You don't have a degree. And I go, I see your perspective. I disagree. But it's interesting how out of the 50 plus people that I work with, maybe 2 of them asked me if I have a degree when they started working with me or right before. And they're still working with me without me having a degree, and they've been with me for months. So again, it's also not putting myself on a pedestal, but it is showing that pushing past all of those limiting beliefs that we've created for ourselves and that are casted towards other people, it's okay that they disagree with you. It's okay that they see the world differently, because the lives that you're going to change based on the things that you're building is going to be one of the most remarkable things you can ever do in this life. Because let's take you building something you care about compared to someone who's judging you and does something for work that they don't really enjoy. When I am about to leave this earth, I told my girlfriend that I want to be sitting under a tree on a sunny day, not in a hospital bed when I have to die. And I'm looking back at my life. It's not going to be about the money I made. It's not going to be about. It's going to be. I'll think about, I'm sure, some of the cool travel experiences that I had. But the coolest thing is going to be, man, remember that one time that Jimmy's life was changed and saved because he joined our group and because the thing that I built impacted so many people. And then you can even find a way to leave that behind after you're gone. There was this beautiful quote I heard. I'm not going to say it exactly, but it's something along the lines of, a man who's planted a seed but never gets to sit under its shade has begun to understand the meaning of life. My interpretation of that is, you plant seeds in people's mind. You plant it in their lives through invoking a positive emotion in them, or giving them a little golden nugget of action that they can take, or a mindset shift. And same thing, this is exactly what you're doing with the content. You plant that in them. A beautiful tree blossoms in their life, which is the concepts, the action that they're incorporating because they saw your video. And you will never see the shade that they are able to, let's say it's the hottest day ever, they're like, oh, I need a break for a second. You created that shade for them, that moment of relief, right? Or it's a rainy day and you created a structure that could protect them. You created that for them, but you will never know that you were the person that did that. And sometimes when you do practically build things, you can then eventually see that you're doing that. But also, there's going to be certain things and people that you help beyond, like, for example, there's famous, like, for example, let's talk like Napoleon Hill, or famous people who have had a tremendous positive impact on people, and they have books. These people have died 200 years ago, but their ideas, the things that propel people forward in their life, still exist because they decided to say, I am scared of putting this out there. I am afraid. When I went up to my girlfriend in the coffee shop to cold approach her, I was definitely afraid. I was like, it's too early in the morning. I don't know if I should do this. And I did it. And now I'm in the most beautiful relationship ever. I could have not done that day. Just like I could have given up on myself and everything else. And it's not just giving up on me. It's giving up on everybody else you could have helped.
I think this is a very beautiful approach to just say, when I don't do this, I can't help anybody. And you are completely right. But on the same note, I want to say it is a bit easier said than done, because To approach a girl, it takes confidence. To put out this content even needs confidence. To get against all the odds, but also into your own work. So you really, really, really need to believe that what you're doing is it, and it will change lives. And when I look out there on the content most people are doing, some of the time, right now it's rage baiting that's really going through the roof and going like mold over the whole social media thing. I rather not have the confidence to put out rage bait actually than and hold that back than to bring it out there and make other people's life a bit worse. Of course, you won't have that big of an impact with a little reel or anything, but I want so much to really have a positive effect and not a bad one. So that holds me a little bit back, the confidence in my own work, as dumb as this sounds. But how could you gain this confidence in, easy example, approaching a girl or anything, if you never really practiced anything about it? What would be the first step into a more confident life when talking to you?
So it's not even about, everybody thinks you have to develop the confidence before you start to do the things that you dreamed of and that are going to get you your dream life. It's only in doing those things where the confidence is built. You're not going to wake up one day and have never gone up to a girl and you're just going to wake up one day and be like, wow, like I just really feel like doing it today. That being said, you may be in a better mood today than you were yesterday and then feel a little bit more inclined to do it, but it's not going to be this giant light bulb wake up call. So it's simply about intentionally doing the thing that you are incredibly uncomfortable with over and over and over again. And then you realize that confidence is a state that you choose, and it's an identity that is created through the things that you do, not just the things that you tell yourself. Because we can tell ourselves, there's so many people that say that they're confident, but they're not. And it really takes truly confident people don't tell you how confident they are. They simply live and do that experience. And other people feel, oh, this guy's like pretty confident and charismatic. And the reason they feel that is because that person actually is. And for example, like one of my friends that was a huge inspiration to me, my best friend Jack, he was the reason why I started to go up to women in the first place, because he was like, dude, you just got to do it. And I would watch him do it 5 times, 10 times and still get too afraid. And the time that I started to do it, I wasn't any less afraid. I was just more intentional of what I actually wanted in my life, because you have to really look at the future that is being created for yourself, whether you choose it or not. Even if you haven't made a choice, you've still made a choice, right? And so when you choose not to go up to that girl, you are potentially choosing not to meet your wife. Like, really think about that. And here's the possibility that because you didn't go up to that girl that would have been the perfect girl for you, now you're going to wait another year and then go up to another girl once you have the confidence. And the relationship's going to be decent. She's going to meet like 5 of your needs, but you have 100 needs. And that girl could have met them, but you never met her. Not that you didn't have the opportunity, but you didn't take it. And so it makes me emotional all the time to think about how I could have not went up to my girlfriend, because she fills every need I have and fills every box. And I was the one that day that chose to do that. Now, that being said, I think there was more of a spiritual component involved out of my control, of God put her there, or the universe, or whatever you believe in or don't believe in. Like, there was some other element at play, but I still had to take the action. So everybody says, religious and non-religious people say, like, when's God coming to save me? And even the people who are like atheists, which I used to be, I was like, even secretly, it's like God doesn't exist because he hates me. Oh wait, but God hates me, but God must exist then, right? And so it's like all these like contradictory beliefs. And then it's like, oh, once you see that there's all these opportunities in front of you, you're just not taking them. It's no longer a question of, is spirituality real, but more of like, what do I want to create for myself and how do I do it? And if it's guaranteed to make it, like, it's guaranteed to be uncomfortable. Everything is difficult until it's easy. Everything is complicated until it's simple. Going up to women is very simple. You take your 2 feet, you walk up to her, you open your mouth and say words. But we convince ourselves that it's more complicated. I'm going to say the wrong thing. I'm not good enough. And then I like to also allow and encourage men specifically to look a little bit deeper into what am I insecure about within myself? Is it the way that I look? Is it the way that I talk? Is it the things I'm building in my life? Because one thing in particular, because of the hustle culture, is I don't have enough money, so women aren't going to like me. I'm not at the place where I want to be. Newsflash. Even though all of your favorite social media creators and the biggest men's coaches online say that you need money to attract women, it's complete BS. You know, the reason that women like money is because it invokes higher status and ambition. Because as a man, you need a level of ambition and taking action on that to attain a certain amount of money, unless you're scamming people. But let's put that out of the equation because we're going to hope that nobody is actually doing that. So you have to really pinpoint, what are the things that I need to do that are going to be deeply uncomfortable, and do it one step at a time. Like, you don't got to go up to 100 people in one day. But we actually did a certain challenge in our group last weekend, which was either cold approach 100 women or have a really difficult family a really difficult conversation you've been needing to have with a family member that you've been refusing to have. And the challenge was, go ahead and pick which one of those you want to do, and whatever you pick, you have to do the opposite. And it was beautiful to see some of the guys of the group like fulfill those things. Like, oh, I chose this. Oh, I got to do this now. But also to see how, yes, some of them were a little bit uneasy about it. Like, okay, I got to do this, but they committed to it anyway and they got it done. And that's what it is. It's about commitment. It's the lack of commitment that you have towards yourself and everything you're building. You say you want to build a business. You say you want to build these things in your life. You say you want to do it, but you don't actually want to do it. So you need to hold yourself accountable and encourage and tell other people to hold you accountable. My business partner in my coaching practice, what we just set up yesterday is a bunch of new tasks that we both need to do every single day. And if we don't fulfill those, guess what I have to do if I don't fulfill them? I have to send him $100. If he doesn't fulfill them, he has to send me $100. So it's like there's a level of accountability. There's something at stake here. Now, whether we exchange that $100 or not, there is still something at stake here. If we don't do this, we're not helping people. If we do this, we're not growing the business, right? And it's like, if you don't deal with this insecurity, you're not going to become confident. If you don't go up to that woman, you'll never find your girl, right? And it's like all of these things where it's like the answers are right in front of you. You're just waiting to magically feel something that's going to incline you to do it. You simply have to do it. And again, that's another one of those things that's easier said than done. That's why you start small. I tell people this is one of the most basic things you could do when it's approaching women or people you're uncomfortable with. Do not start with the intention of, I'm going to go up to this person, I'm going to say all the right things, I'm going to have a deep conversation, she's going to love me, I'm going to get her number, we're going to go on a date, we're going to get married. You're setting way too many expectations in your mind that you are not prepared for. Simply walk past a girl, say hi, lock eyes with her for 2 seconds, and keep walking. Do that about 50 times. Then go up to a few girls and just say, hey, how are you doing today? She's going to say, good. How are you? You're going to say, I'm good. Walk away. Because you're like, oh, I'm too afraid to have the conversation. Cool. Don't have the conversation. Then after you do that, you're going to naturally see that people aren't as scary as you make them out to be. Women aren't as scary as you make them out to be. And then you're going to lean into doing that one more time, asking her how her day is. And when she asks you back, you're going to say, I'm doing good. What do you do for work? What are you studying in school? What are you interested in? And then you naturally start talking, building a connection with somebody, getting her number, and wow, we're going on a date, and like I'm actually getting myself out there because I did the very small things instead of feeling like I need to do everything because there's an attachment to it, right? For men, it's I want her to sleep with me, I want to hook up with her, I find her attractive, and we're intimidated by that. Like we're intimidated by beauty, which is really interesting because we feel afraid of the thing that we desire the most. Like we want women the most in our lives, but we're so afraid of them. We want the successful business, but we're so afraid of it. We want to, get the degree, but we're so afraid of spending 3 hours studying, right? It's like we procrastinate. I can't do it, right? These are just limitations you're putting on yourself. Whereas any one of us can do it. None of us are, yes, people have their specialties, but none of us are more special than the other person. Anybody can do these things.
Okay, so there was a lot of truth in there. First of all, don't put those high stakes up there. Just do it. Also, I read a bit through the lines. The environment is just so important. When you have people that hold you accountable, when you are talking to people who have the same goals, I think it's also a big game changer. And yeah, that's maybe the most thing that you can do is getting into a completely new environment with people who have the same mind as you and just try to completely get into it on and just do it step by step and not as high expectations. Wow. So yeah, I learned a lot in there. And the last thing you said was that we are actually afraid from the things we are desiring the most. And I think the rule that comes into play there is that we are actually afraid of success because we are afraid that as soon as we hit this success, we don't have any goal anymore afterwards. But it's pretty much maybe just being green behind the ears because you never had this big success and don't know how it feels like. And I think as soon as you hit this success, you will want to have another one. But I can talk from experience. And for a very long time, I was also, I'm right now also very, 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 very concerned about this podcast. Let's say this podcast goes through the roof tomorrow. First of all, my work colleagues will see it 10 times more than now. First, insecurity I have there. Then, of course, my chef is seeing it as well. And family members and everything. That it will completely go in unforeseen dimensions. And I wouldn't say I'm scared of it, but it is always a bit in the back of my head. And maybe it also sabotages me a little bit. And this brings us to the last topic I want to discuss with you, the self-sabotaging that everybody, if they want or they don't want, do unconsciously most of the time. So what are severe cases that you saw with your clients where they completely self-sabotage themselves? And what are maybe some self-sabotages that we just think is completely normal in our everyday life that we don't even expect to be self-sabotaging, but are probably?
Yeah, we think scrolling on our phone is completely normal and fine to do. We think avoiding conversations with people that we care about is fine to do. We think thinking negatively about ourselves is something that's fine to do. We think procrastinating extensively, never addressing the root of it is fine to do. We think being insecure but projecting those insecurities on other people is completely fine to do. And when it comes to crazy client experiences, I mean, I've had clients basically lose all of their money, be addicted to hard drugs, prawn addictions, the list is endless. Gambling, all those basic ones. And then also the interesting thing is that at all of the roots of these addictions and self-sabotage tendencies we have is a lack of security within. We feel that we need these things externally to feel something within. And it all boils down to a lack of connection. Right? Somebody who's connected to their work, to themselves, to their values, to their relationship with other people and themselves, doesn't seek to be addicted to things, doesn't try all the substances in the world because they feel that level of being high on a natural basis. Does it feel exactly the same as taking drugs? No, because there's literally different things going off in your brain. But there are certain components of being high, naturally speaking. Like that's why they call it runner's high. After you on a long run and you've really worked your body, like you feel so good after, right? These are the endorphins, the neurotransmitters. That's why when you have a sexual experience, oxytocin, the love bonding hormone, serotonin, dopamine, like all these things are flowing throughout our body. These are naturally produced drugs. And if we lean into what's connecting us and grounding us to reality, what are the things that I actually enjoy doing, and doing more of those things, addictions don't necessarily instantaneously float out of our lives, especially if it's been something that you've been dealing with extensively or for a long period of time. But it gets a little bit easier to confront it and investigate why it's in the first place because it's a lack of connection. I don't feel connected to people. I don't feel connected to what I'm doing. And so it's an escape. When I worked at a restaurant for years, almost everyone's addicted to cigarettes, vaping, marijuana, hooking up with people extensively that they don't know. Why? Because there's nothing else. You feel like there's nothing else out here in the world for you. There absolutely is. But because you don't see it directly when you show up to the restaurant every day, you just feel the need that you need to spend your hard-earned money on the things that are going to allow you to cope with the fact that you're going to be here forever. You've convinced yourself of that, nobody else. And dude, it's we cannot give up on ourselves. And yeah, self-sabotage comes as a lack of connection. What do you feel? What can you feel connected to? And another thing you could do there, a thought experiment, the things that I enjoyed when I was a kid. The tasks and the activities and things that you did, do those. Or if it's not those things in particular, what did those activities elicit within me? What feeling? One of those things was creativity. One of them was freedom. That's why we're all chasing money. it symbolizes freedom. We want to feel like we have a free spirit as human beings. We don't want to be stuck in one place all the time. And we're oftentimes the ones keeping ourselves stuck in that place forever. Or you may be stuck there physically for the next 5 years, potentially, depending on the situation you're in. But you don't have to make that situation the next 10 years, but you will make it the next 10 years if you decide I'm going to be here forever. It's a decision that you make. When you don't make a choice to investigate why you're insecure, you end up being insecure for the rest of your life. I talked to this guy and was at the library doing some work in the morning, and I walk out, I see this guy walking pretty slowly in front of me. So on a day where I was a little bit annoyed, I probably would have thought to myself, this guy's walking slow, let me just walk around him. I started to walk around him, but very slowly and calmly. And then I looked over at him, and I looked back, and I said, hey man, how you doing? Started a conversation with him. And I asked him a little bit about what he did for work when he was younger, because he was in his 80s. I was curious about his life experience, what he could teach me. Anyway, what he taught me was to not be anything like him. He told me he was a sex addict. He told me he got divorced. He told me to avoid women and never get married. He never enjoyed what he did for work. He was always constantly avoiding. And it was like, wow, this is what happens when we don't face the honest reality about ourselves and what we're going through. And when we don't own up to the things we're doing wrong. This is how my life will turn out. And I don't want that for myself. And if you're listening to this and you made it this far, I know you don't want that for yourself. So it's like, we gotta put our foot down for ourselves and start to take accountability for everything that we aren't doing, and for the things that we are doing.
Wow. No better way to wrap this up. It was such a pleasure. Where can people go when they want to get in touch with you or get to know you a bit better?
Best place would be Instagram. My handle is Mighty Brad Official. Mighty Brad on YouTube. And those are the best places to reach me.
Thank you so much for your time. It was really a pleasure for the last 45 minutes. And I learned a lot, and I hope you out there as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much.